Puerto Rico's driver's license will have a new format to avoid confusion due to recent cases of citizens traveling to the mainland and reporting issues with identification. It will include Puerto Rico, USA to establish that the island is part of the United States. Francis Felix has all the details today.
This is a regular Puerto Rico driver's license, and now it will have a new format to help avoid identification issues and confusion with Puerto Rico as a territory of the U.S. We arrive at the Transportation and Public Works Department to ask the Secretary about these new changes and how it will help make life easier to Puerto Ricans traveling to the U.S.
With a out-of-state license, you have to have your passport. My social in there, let them know they have to have his passport. In that instance, he got outraged.
Cases like this were reported this year by CBS News lead correspondent David Becknott. In this case, a Puerto Rican man traveled to New Orleans. His prepaid rental car was denied because Puerto Rico driver's license wasn't valid as an ID.
And says, I'm sorry, but I'm going to need to see a passport.
Another case of a Puerto Rican in Savannah, Georgia. He went to a store to buy groceries, and the cashier didn't accept his driver's license, so she asked for a passport. Now, as a way to minimize those setbacks for citizens when carry out procedures that require their driver's license for identification, Transportation and Public Works Department announced that Puerto Rico driver's license format was changed.
Made it official, where we are going to have the banner of the new licenses in Puerto Rico, real ID, or just the ones that don't have real ID, or the IDs that we have without the privileges of driving. We have on the banner Puerto Rico, USA. So we did change that up. What we did is add that onto our banner so that it's clearly stated that Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory.
But what does she has to say about these recent cases of Puerto Ricans possibly being discriminated when traveling to the U.S.? And thus she believes this is really going to help avoid those issues.
I believe it's probably a lack of knowledge of Puerto Rico being a U.S. territory. However, what we're doing with this is making clear or stating Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, the driver's license that are provided by the governor, and you have an official license, and if it's real ID, it's a federal document, so it is valid and it can be used as your ID.
This new format was consulted with the U.S. Homeland Security Department, which agreed to the change because other states and territories had already done the same. This new format will be for the new printed licenses as well as for all virtual licenses that are accessed from the Department digital application.
You go to Sesco Digital, to our app. Right now we have the virtual license, and you can click on your virtual license and you're going to immediately see that it says Puerto Rico, USA.
So people will have to renew their license to physically have that.
To physically have it, yes. If you renewed from yesterday until, from here to future, then you're going to have your license with the updated banner. But if, for example, we have our licenses are renewed every 8 years. So if you're not renewing until next year or 4 years or 5 years, and you want to have this in your physical license, then you have to ask for a duplicate. And we have a process for that. So people can come and reprint their licenses.
Now we will have to wait and see if adding USA to the driver's license will end the confusion and lack of a certain knowledge when Puerto Ricans, also U.S. citizens, travel to the mainland. From Santurce, Puerto Rico, Francis Felix reporting.